Give us your children. One of the most horrific crimes committed by the Nazis. In 1942, the Nazis decided to rid the LODZ Ghetto of its unproductive population. SS officers took children under the age of 10 away from their parents and sent them straight to the gas chambers. According to historians' estimates, the Nazis killed between 10,000 and 15,000 children in just 1 week. Evgeny tells us about one of the most horrific crimes of World War II. In September 1942, the Polish industrial city of LODZ was unbearably hot. The temperature rose above 40 degrees Celsius several times. The city was divided into 2 parts: the ghetto, where more than 200,000 Jews lived, or rather existed, during the war, and the territory for people of a slightly better class. People there also died from disease and German bullets, but they had a better chance of survival. After the occupation began, the Nazis even renamed the city. By Adolf Hitler's personal decision, LODZ became Litzmannstadt. In honor of German General Karl Litzmann, the ghetto was cursed, literally and figuratively scorched earth. During 2 years of German rule, the grass, bushes, and trees here dried up. Due to terrible hunger, prisoners ate dogs and cats. By that time, as its inhabitants recalled, not even birds flew over the ghetto. Children and adults had long since realized that insects and worms could be cooked and eaten, so there was simply no food left for birds here. Disease, hunger, and human conditions. The Jews felt like they were living in hell, but the real hell was yet to come. It began on Saturday, September 5th, 1942. Polish historians refer to the events that will be discussed here as the Great Ban, Wielke Sperre, from the German Allgemeine Gesperre, a complete ban on leaving one's home. What happened 75 years ago lives on in the memory of the older residents of LODZ, but many people are almost completely unaware of these facts. The LODZ catastrophe was lost among the many war crimes of that time. The few survivors of this catastrophe were so shocked by what they had experienced in September 1942 that they tried not to remember or talk about it for the rest of their lives. A carousel between 2 worlds, children of the LODZ Ghetto. Photo: Arkoum Postwo Buwadze, just outside the ghetto, right next to the barbed wire fence. There was an amusement park. Its main and only attraction, which could be seen from the ghetto, was a carousel. Every day, children from the ghetto made pilgrimages to this place and looked sadly at the children on the other side, who were playing and swinging in boats hanging from the carousel. Music played from the radio. The children listened intently, peering into a strange, alien world in which their peers lived, as if in a beautiful Neverland. On one side of the barbed wire were children. On the other side were children too, but they were so different. This is an excerpt from the Chronicles of the LODZ Ghetto, a 5-volume publication containing the memories of those who were in the ghetto. Not only chroniclers who worked on compiling the ghetto's archives or encyclopedia, but also ordinary residents wrote down what happened to them day after the Nazis arrived. The weather, rumors, meetings with relatives, conversations. They recorded every day of their lives. Both adults and children did this. Thanks to the records in the Daily Chronicle, Bulletin, Biultin Kroniki Kwadzinj, the diaries of ghetto prisoners, and the memories of the few who managed to survive, today we can piece together the horrific reality in which these people found themselves. Today is a beautiful, sunny day. When the sun shines, my mood lifts. How sad our lives are. When we look at the fence surrounding us, our souls, like birds in a cage, yearn for freedom. Sadness tears my heart apart, and I see images from the past. Will I ever live in better times? Author of the Diary Unknown, March 7th, 1942. Ghetto. Photo, Arkwam Postwo WZ. We don't need a calendar. Our lives are divided by the dates when food is distributed. Bread once every 8 days. Food rations once a month. Every day is divided into 2 parts, before and after the soup ration. Sarah Plager, 14 years old, 1941. Hunger grabs you by the throat and suffocates you. You can't escape it. You can't stop thinking about it. I thought about food all the time. There was one more thing. In this situation, you had to remain a decent person. You couldn't take food from your mother, brother, father, from anyone. Israel Aviram, quote from the film Vilkas Era by Piotr Pesh and Piotr Weichert. In the summer of 1941, a week's food ration for a ghetto prisoner included 100 g of peas, 100 g of fish, 200 grams of rice flour, 70 grams of butter, 40 grams of honey, 150 g of salt, 200 grams of beets, 200 g of carrots, and a pack of matches. Source, Ghetto Prisoner Food Card for the week of July 13th to 19th, 1941. Cited in Gigi Hodge-Giego Ghetto, Litzmann-Stadt Ghetto, WADS 2009. Most prisoners did not have enough money to support themselves and their families. They lived from hand to mouth, thinking only about one thing from morning till night food. Food that they did not have. Today I got up after 2 days in bed. I had a cold. I got dressed and lost consciousness. I think it was because I had no strength left. People are gradually dying from this diet. I heard that 15,000 people have already died since the Jews were moved to the ghetto. Lech Lebinsky, 17 or 18 years old, February 3rd, 1941. There was a large pot of water on the stove and something was boiling in it. I smelled something awful, looked into the pot, and saw that it was a leather belt from a pair of trousers. I asked Mrs. Rosenberg, "What are you cooking?" She replied, "It used to be cow or horse leather. When the belt becomes soft, I will salt it and give it to the children to eat." Miriam Harrell, 18 years old, 1942. There were 2 main feelings, hunger and fear. Every inhabitant of the ghetto, regardless of their status, carried a metal pot or mug. People woke up thinking about food and went to bed with the same thought. The constant fear of being killed, of not earning enough to buy bread, of not being able to feed themselves and their children, of falling seriously ill, inevitably influenced the behavior and thoughts of all the ghetto prisoners. Every German could shoot as many Jews as he wanted. If someone approached the fence, within shooting range of a German soldier, they died. Hundreds of people lost their lives in this way. Israel Unikovsky, 13 years old. We were afraid of everything. Jewish policeman. Hans Bebo, head of the German administration of the Wad Ghetto, author's note. We always lived in fear. Chaim Kale, 13 years old. Children as breadwinners. Street trading in the Wad Ghetto. Photo, Arkwam Postwo WZ. In the ghetto, parents and children often swapped roles. Boys and girls, teenagers became breadwinners. Adults were exhausted by hunger and unable to find work, while children who went to school received a bowl of soup every day. For them, it was a lifeline. Many went to school just for the soup. It was often easier for children to find food than it was for adults. Some of them took food from younger children, some stole. As Avram Zickert, a survivor of the WOD Ghetto, recalled, no one thought about morality. There was no place for morality in the ghetto. There was only one rule, one norm. I want to survive. These words sum up the entire morality of the ghetto. Parents could not come to terms with their inability to feed their children. They fell into depression, and some ended their lives by suicide. Many similar stories can be heard in the documentary film, The Great Prohibition by Piotr Peg and Piotr Weichert. After work, we would sit around our parents. Dad and Mom sat on chairs, and we sat around them. Everyone took out their portion of bread and broke off a little bit, just a little, so there would be something left for later. And Dad sat on a chair and told the story of our family. Once, when we were sitting like this, everyone took out their portion of bread, but Dad just lowered his head. He didn't take anything out. Then one of my sisters, Luma, stood up and said, "Dad, you don't have any bread left?" She took out her bread and handed it to him. Everyone stopped eating and gave their pieces of bread to my father. That was the first time in my life I saw my father cry. He said, "What have I come to? Instead of feeding my children, I am eating the bread they feed me." Esther Slamovich, 13 years old in 1942. I came to my cousin's house to see my uncle and aunt. I can still see them before my eyes. Two terribly thin people were lying in bed with an umbrella over their heads. Before the war, my uncle was strong and very overweight. He had lost so much weight that he looked like a skeleton. Next to him lay another skeleton, his wife. Rain dripped on them from the leaky roof, and there they were, sick and emaciated, in that bed, on the verge of death. I stood there and couldn't do anything. I was told that my uncle had eaten his own fingers. Isabel Hoko, 14 years old in 1942. Black Friday, a teenager from the WOD Ghetto. Photo, Arquen Pastwal Buadzi. On September 4th, 1942, at around 2 p.m., notices appeared on the walls of the ghetto. Prisoners were informed that they had to gather at 3:30 p.m. at Plak Strakekich, near 13 Ludomirska Street. Rumors were already circulating in the ghetto that the Germans were going to deport 20,000 children and elderly people, but there was no official information. Many did not believe that the Nazis would separate families and take children away from their parents. After the posters appeared, it became clear to everyone that the deportation would take place. A couple of hours before the start of Shabbat, the Jews decided to announce who would be taken away and when. The day and time were not chosen at random. The Nazis liked to do the most terrible things on days that were sacred to their victims. Ethnographer Joseph Zelkovich wrote on September 4th, it became clear that both the supporters of logical thinking and those who lived in hope were mistaken. The eviction became a fact. The inhabitants of the ghetto were terribly mistaken. What seemed impossible and unacceptable yesterday will become reality. Children under the age of 10 will be taken away from their parents and sent to an unknown destination. The elderly over 65 will be deprived of the last thing they have left, 4 walls, and a hard